Okay guys, so we're going to do an electrolysis video today. Now recently been getting a lot of PMs and emails and stuff about cleaning relics. We do a lot of coin cleaning. We show you different colorization techniques and stabilization techniques for coins, but we don't get to do a lot of relics. So out with the my F75, playing around with the F75 yesterday, I picked up a really nice 1925 roughly Princess Pat compact. And what's nice about this is it's a nice thin-walled metal, excuse me, that we can stabilize. We can show you how to clean it, and also its original color would have been a very much like a goldish color. It was a brass compact, tin compact, but it had a really nice gold. Matter of fact, I'm going to throw right now. I'm going to throw up the video for you. Take a look at what the original looks like. And that's kind of what we're going to shoot for, making the one that we dug look like. So I'm going to show you how to clean it, stabilize it, and then we did a video a few weeks ago, gold plating without gold. We did on a couple of buttons. We're going to kind of rehash that. We're going to kind of try and gold plate this thing, and we will use no gold whatsoever. So stay tuned. We're going to set things up and show you how to run it through its paces. Back in a minute. Okay, so there's the Princess Pat tin that we dug yesterday. You can see it's in actually pretty decent shape, but then we're going to try and colorize it. We're going to see if we can't loosen up through electrolysis. We're going to try and loosen up this hinge so we can get her open. Meantime, first step, guys, is and a little different than when we're working on coins. I know on coins we're very delicate with the surfaces. We don't want to scratch them. Tons and tons of their value is lost through manipulating the surface. With your relics, yeah, you definitely want to be gentle on them, but because of the different densities in the metals are not as conductive as your coin metals are. We have to get rid of some of this dirt. So a gentle wash with some more mild soap and water, nylon, toothbrush, and we're not trying to clean. We're just trying to take the heavy dirt off. This stuff is going to inhibit the flow of electricity and make it much more difficult for the for electrolysis to take place and the electricity to pass through the unit. That's all. Just want to clean it up a little bit, take the real rough stuff off it, real heavy kind of debris off it, and our next step is we'll set the tank up and show you your metals. Okay guys, so right off the bat, let's explain a little bit what we have going on. Excuse me, don't anybody get confused by the unit we're using. You guys know we build the units. This is a duplex unit that we actually just built one for a salvage boat with a TV show coming up. So we built one for ourselves because I really like the design. And basically all this is a basic electrolysis unit and an N-series electrolysis unit. And it doesn't matter if you're using one of our units, a basic, an N-series, one you've built at home. The theory is going to be the same on this guy, so don't get worried about the machine that we're using here. Now, a bunch of guys that have seen me do relics ask me why, when we're doing coins, I always preach low voltage. Start with the low voltage. Let the coin reveal itself to you, and then from there you can begin to increase your voltage. And then with relics, I pretty much start off at 12. The reason is this. Your coins are a much denser metal. They're very thick and compressed, and it takes a little bit more for the electricity to pass through it into the core of the metal. Relics like this are a very thin metal. With a coin, if you go too fast, too much current, it'll coat the outside, it'll plate the outside, the electricity will travel along the outside of it and never actually penetrate. That's not the case with relics like this. The walls are very thin. You can actually treat to the core of the metal very quickly with a little bit higher voltage. We're not going super high. We are going to go with 12 volt to start with. It's not going to take as long once we cut through this dirt, but the trick will be getting the color where you want it. Okay, so setting up my tank, and I realized now that I had the alligator clips, the jump cables that I pulled out for this were of the small size. So instead of going and swapping them out, we're going to do something a little different. I'll show you guys what it is. We're going to use a Faraday cage. And what this is, sometimes we'll use it on oddly shaped items Or, well, if we want to do a bunch of coins, let's say you have a bunch of clad and we're going to zap, or even a bunch of coppers, incidental coppers that aren't necessarily super valuable, and you want to do a few of them at a time. Faraday cage, this is actually more a Faraday plate, but it's just simply a metal cage that you hook your negative lead to, and drop the cage in the water in your brine solution. And then whatever your relic or coin is, you take it and you set it on top of the cage. And that just kind of makes it easier to manipulate if it's oddly shaped. In this case, the relic was too big for the alligator clips. And I just kind of use a clamp to hold the cage in place so it doesn't move around. My positive lead has carbon to it. And I will go and grab a clip and hook that in place as well. We are, like I said, we're going to use a 12-volt power pack, and we're going to plug that in. This is just the configuration of the machine that we happen to be using tonight. And like I said, you do the same thing whether you're using direct from a battery, a homemade version, one of our other versions. They're going to operate the same way. The principle is going to be exactly the same. Our brine solution is pre-mixed here. This is, remember, 2 parts baking soda to 1 part ground sea salt, non-iodized, and you can actually go 3 parts baking soda if you'd like. You're just going to use a little bit less of it when you're making up your solution. Now we want to cover, you want to cover your relic for sure. And that's just perfect. We just covered the relic. And you want to try and keep your alligator clip on your positive side, on your catalyst metal side. Try and keep that out of the water if you can, because you don't want to put unnecessary copper into the mix. Right now, we just want to use the carbon to clean it and stabilize it, and then we'll introduce some other metals to kind of bring the color up. So let me go get another clamp to seal that off, and I'll show you what we got going on. Okay, so our positive is in place with our carbon. We have a Faraday cage hooked to our negative lead. Now, if the item you're trying to clean is small and the alligator clip fits around it fine, you don't have to worry about the Faraday cage. It was just that the Princess Pat Compact was a little too big for the alligator clips I happen to have. So that's why we're using the cage. So the cage is in place. We have the Princess Pat Compact on the cage. Cage is connected. Our 2 electrodes are connected to our positive and negative sides. And our power pack is in place. Basically, all it is now, guys, turn on and let it cook. We're pumping 12 volts into this for right now. And remember that relics, especially something like this, which is thinner metal, electricity will penetrate it more easily, but it patinas much more harshly because there's less metal to have to oxidize. So it may take a little while to crack this core to get some of this stuff off. We're going to let it run for a little bit. We're going to take it off. We're going to give it a light bath like we do with coins. And then we're going to put it back in. The more debris we take off the surface when we restart the process, the process will start quicker, more vigorously. And every time you do it, it will work better. The process will react better. So we're going to give this a few, and we'll be back in a minute, show you what the water looks like, and take it to the next step. Okay guys, so I want to show you now, excuse me, this is our second cooking. And I've already changed this water out once and did a light clean on the artifact. Now, so that was about 2.5 hours in. We're at about another 2 hours now. Remember, we're going slow, and that's what you want to do. You want to go slow. I know a lot of guys want to go fast. They want to see an instant result. The faster you cook this thing, the worse the color is going to be. And the more difficult it will ever be to change the color, to tweak the color to a proper state. So low and slow is what you always want. And I know we're going with 12 volts. The voltage is really the least of our worries. It's how many amps you're using to drive that voltage. If you're in the early stages of cleaning your coin, relic, or artifact, and you're seeing bubbles right off the bat, you're probably cooking it too fast. You're probably using too many amps. You really shouldn't see bubbles pouring out of your target until you're in the closing stages where you want to up your voltage a little bit to get your color. So don't get caught up in the whole bubble thing. That video was for a different type of scenario. Power packs you plug into a wall, higher voltages, generally higher currents. So what we want to do is, let me pull this camera up a little bit. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you what's going on. We're going to kill the power to your electrolysis unit. Power's done. And let me disconnect the Faraday cage here. So I'm going to show you what the target is looking like. Now, and it's still not the prettiest thing in the world, but if you take a look, you start to see there's a lot more detail showing up, and we're actually starting to see copper color, which is fantastic. As these things sit in the ground, the tin that they're made from generally loses all of its copper tone. You actually have to kind of tweak it in your electrolysis to bring it back. In this case, we're actually getting some of that copper tone back, which means the metal really wasn't all that destroyed. Now you can see that we have dark spots and rough spots in the center. That's going to be expected. That's probably going to be result in a little bit of pitting, but we'll deal with that as the time goes. So what we're going to do now is, in the early stages, we're going to take a nylon brush. We're not even going to soap it up or anything like that. We're just going to hit it. We just want to break loose some of that debris. And that's part of it's from the tank. We're going to expose a little bit of this, this cured metal. That makes it react better the next time we put it in. And as you see, as you do it, you won't get all the color up, but you'll see some of your color will start to reveal itself a little brighter. And this is nylon, guys, so we're not really hurting this thing. And just then clean that off. The detail that's actually starting to show up is awesome. So now what we're going to do is we're going to change out our tank of water. We want to keep the tank clean. We want nothing in there, or as little as possible in there, that's going to inhibit the flow of electricity. The dirtier your tank gets, the more you're inhibiting the flow. So we brushed it off. I'm going to change out the water, start the process again. Next time we come back, we'll show you what the next step is on this project. Okay, this is our third cleaning now. It's my third cleaning in the basic electrolysis unit at 12 volts. And what I'm going to show you is, let's kill the power. We're going to disconnect everything here. And what I want to show you is the compact. Now you see how it's discolored. Now in the interim, as we pull it out and we take it out of the tank, you're going to see it darken like this. And this is where all my Relic guys and my coin guys kind of lose their mind. In between each cleaning, when it's dark and it's wet, and it has to be wet, just like with our coins, I take a very lightweight brass brush and we very gently go over the surface. Now, this is two things. We're not trying to scratch it clean. You're actually kind of activating the cured metal. The cured metal can get turned dark from debris in the tank, from the actual magnetism that's taking place. And this kind of gets that black off, kind of rejuvenates that metal, and starts to bring up the color. As you can see. Now, the next step we're going to do is we're going to give it, we've pretty much got the metal cured. We're going to work on color now. So we're going to put it in the tank, and we're going to get it nice and clean, and I'll show you how we do that. Okay, so we have an empty tank, and we're just going to put some water in it. Regular old plain water. Now, what I'm going to use here, I mean, you can buy it. You don't have to use this. You can use dish soap. But this is a cleaning powder for jewelry that you usually use in your ultrasonic cleaners. This can be picked up at Harbor Freight, a couple of different stores. Like I said, your mild dish soap will do the same thing. So we're just going to mix a little bit of this in there. And we'll mix it up pretty good. Now, if you have an ultrasonic jewelry cleaner, you can put it in there too. But we're going to drop the compact in it, and again, we're going to rub it around. We're going to let the chemical kind of take effect, and we're going to brush it a little bit with our our brass brush. Remember, these aren't coins. We don't have to be as delicate as we are with the coins, but by the same token, we don't want to destroy it. So I never use these brushes wet. I never use these brushes on a dry artifact or coin, only on a wet one. And it's a necessity because you have to reactivate the copper molecules that are on the surface. We want the color to come back. Now, we're not going to clean it completely. We're just kind of brightening it up because we're not done with the cooking yet. So I'm going to show you, give you an idea what it looks like. You can see the color is really starting to come back. And we're going to put it back in the electrolysis tank. We're going to raise the voltage now. So we're back in a second. One of the things I forgot to show you before we start cooking again, as the electrolysis starts to penetrate and clean, one of the cool things was, luckily the hinge was intact, but we got the hinge loose, and she opened right up. There's the mirror still intact. The reason we get excited about finding these Princess Pat and other compacts out in fields where there really wasn't any old homes and you really don't expect to find anything there is because on 2 occasions before, I found a Princess Pat and one other compact, and when I opened them up, I had a couple Indian head pennies and a couple silver dimes in each of them. So that was pretty cool. Unfortunately, nothing in this one. Okay, so we're ready to go. Now, for those of you who are actually using our Detect America's N series electrolysis units, I just want to let you know that when you're using this, you have to have both power packs connected. You have to have one in the back and one in the front. If you only want to run it on 9 volts, connect the one in the front, and on the back, you can connect the 2 terminals together with the jump cable, and that'll give you only the 9 volts. If you want to use the higher voltage, then you must use one power pack in back, one power pack in front. I forgot to put that out there earlier. So I'm going to hook up the power packs again right now, and then we're going to start cooking it. Okay, so we've got about a grand total of pretty much almost 6 hours on this compact. Now, I'm pretty confident that this is cooked pretty good. This is probably nice and stable. I'm just not happy with the color. So, we are running it through the N series now. The N series is going to provide us with around 19 to 20 volts the way I have it hooked up, with very, very low amperage. We put EMAGs in here, which reduce some of the flow of the electricity and greatly reduce the amperage that's driving it. So we're going to drop it right in, back onto our plate, and turn it on. And we're running at about 20 amps, about 20 volts. So we're going to leave that in there for a short period of time, maybe 10 minutes. I want to see where the color goes. And then once the intonation of that color starts to reveal itself to me, we're going to tweak it. So it's sat for about 10, maybe 15 minutes. And kill the power. And when I look at it, it darkened the hair, but the color is good. It's very stable, but it's very coppery. It's a little too coppery in comparison to the original Princess Pat compact. So what we're going to do now is we're going to tweak it. We're going to put an additive into the catalyst. We're going to change the catalyst up completely, actually, and we're going to gold plate this thing with no gold. We're going to use copper and silver, and let me show you how we do that. Okay, guys, so what we're doing is we're going to add silver and copper as our catalyst now. In shorter bursts, but we're going to tweak the color towards the original picture. Now, what I do, I keep around a few Wheaties, a couple scrap pieces of silver, in order, just for this purpose. So we're going to take out our catalyst carbon and remove it, and together, we can get a better shot of it for you. Together in the positive side clip, we're going to put the silver dime and the wheatie together. Now we've got a nice silver copper catalyst. We're going to drop that back in. And we're going to take our compact now and drop it right back on the Faraday cage and turn it on. That's it. We're going to let it sit. I'm going to run it for about 10 minutes at a shot. We'll keep taking it out. Again, the important factor when you're plating like this is you have to brush it. In between, you have to brush it with a brass brush. I know it's kind of contradictory to what everybody preaches, but that's the only way to get the color back to where it is. And as long as you're doing it wet, you won't damage it. So give me a few minutes. We're gonna take it out. I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, guys. So back in and out of the tank on 3-4 different occasions with my silver and copper catalyst. Now, occasionally it'll look a little too silver. I'll put the copper in alone. If it looks a little too coppery, put the silver in alone. I think we've got it where we want it. So we're going to kill the power now. The last session's only been about a minute. And we're going to pull out the tank. Now, again, we're going to drop it in our wash. You want to absolutely positively make sure you eliminate the salt composition that may be lying on top. Now remember, in between each session, especially when you're plating, you have to lightly hit it while it's wet with the brass brush. This stimulates the copper molecules and allows the next session to plate more easily. Now, also what we'll do is we're going to do a gentle rub with the toothpaste, because that'll buff it a little bit. But just to give you a heads up now, I think we're pretty darn close to the color we wanted. I'll post some side-by-sides on the video and on the webpage, and you guys decide. Okay, again, got to make sure it's wet. We put a nice little dab of over-the-counter regular old toothpaste on it and gently swirl it. Do it while it's wet, guys, just because you don't want to gouge it. If you have an abundance of scratches on it already, then do it a little drier. The toothpaste will actually polish a lot of it out. This just kind of eliminates some of the residue that may be on it from the tank and neutralizes the salts that are left. We'll rinse it off really good. Now, my final step is coin rag. Yeah, the jewelry polishing cloth, I'm sorry, not coin rag, but jewelry polishing cloth. And we'll buff it just like you would jewelry. And you get these rags at any Walmart or jewelry store. And gently hit it with the rough side first. Then hit it with the polishing side. And there you go. There's our Princess Pat compact from 1925. Alright guys, so any questions, you know where to hit me up on the page, Detect America, detect-america.com, Detect America at AOL, or hit me up on the Facebook page. And thanks for watching us.